I hope you have some applause left for our guest. Let's begin in prayer in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father, we give you glory. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. What a rare treat today. We have things like personal finance and economics on our minds, and we certainly should as high school students. And so I think we've got a fairly good economic advisor with us here today. The current successor of Alexander Hamilton, a name that maybe you have heard before, the current Secretary of Treasury of the United States of America. May I welcome Mr. Scott Bessent.
Are we on? We are. Thank you, Dr. Flanders. I don't know where you... Oh, there you scooted off over here. I am an alumni parent. My kids went pre-K through 12 here. I was at the groundbreaking with our little baby boy, and so this is a very special place for me. I am the executive director of the Economic Club of Minnesota. My name is Kate Reschenberg, and I was fortunate enough to get a call from the Secretary's staff last week that he was coming to town, and we were able to host him today at the Economic Club. And we'll make sure that you get the video link so that you can look at that, because it was a wonderful speech and some great questions from the audience as well. We are going to go to student questions in just a little bit. Before that, Mr. Hester, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm just very pleased to be up here on the stage with Secretary Bessent.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So I'm excited to be here, and I want to tell you all that if you get the chance, you maybe should have a high school day at the Economic Club of Minneapolis.
They're welcome. They are welcome.
The format and the food are very similar to the Economic Club in New York.
Wonderful.
So,
all right, so we've got stars. We've got stars. Wonderful. Did you have anything else you wanted to say before we start questions?
No, I want to thank all of you for your interest. I'm happy to answer anything about the administration, what the U.S. Treasury does, what the Treasury Secretary does, about my thoughts on the economy, my thoughts on financial markets. Great to see all of you so engaged. This is the first time I've ever lived in Washington, D.C. From small town in South Carolina, went to school in Connecticut, and then lived between New York and London, and then went back to South Carolina, and then kind of uprooted myself, my family, and I can tell all of you that the opportunity to serve the American people is the greatest thing you can ever do. Greatest thing you can ever do. And then everyone says, well, don't you want to go back and run for governor of South Carolina? Don't you want to be a senator? Nope. Good thing is I have one boss. Bad part is he doesn't sleep. But if you are a member of Congress, I think it's up to about 700,000 per district. So you have 700,000 bosses. If you are a senator from South Carolina, you have 5.5 million. So much better I intend to do my time, right the ship, leave things better than where we found them, put things on track for all of you. I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. I was just told that the 16-year-old that the punk phase would level off.
It does.
Okay.
Yes. I have a 15-year-old about to be a 16-year-old, but he's my youngest, so yes, okay. I can tell you that it does.
So, but again, happy to answer anything that I can. But again, I'm happy to see you all engaged and interested. And as I told some of your classmates earlier, who here been to Hamilton or seen the musical on TV. So obviously, Alexander Hamilton was the first Treasury Secretary. He designed the Treasury as we know it. The Treasury Secretary is fifth in line in the order of succession to become President of the United States. If something were to happen, which I don't think it will. And for those who are interested, it's, well, how do you become fifth? And I actually didn't know this till I got there. So it's the president, the vice president, the speaker pro tem, speaker of the House, president pro tem of the Senate. Then you go into the cabinet, and it's Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, now Secretary of War, and that was done in the order that the cabinet positions were created. So Thomas Jefferson, first Secretary of State, then Alexander Hamilton, first Secretary of the Treasury. I am the 79th Treasury Secretary. There have been 47 presidents, which tells you that it can be a volatile job. Alexander Hamilton is, as I was telling some of your classmates in the small group earlier, Alexander Hamilton's the most famous, but there have been some Treasury Secretaries made incredible contributions. The Treasury Secretary named Albert Gallatin, he financed the Louisiana Purchase. Treasury Secretary named the Salmon Chase, and he financed for the United States / Union Army the Civil War and made it possible for Abraham Lincoln to win. Treasury Secretary Morgenthau financed the New Deal, and World War II.
Wonderful. I think one of the reasons that Secretary wanted to visit you today is to talk about financial literacy. And so, Secretary, if you could talk about the importance of gaining financial literacy at a young age and kind of map out for us what that looked like for you.
Sure. So my dad had some economic or financial ups and downs, and unfortunately more financial downs than ups. So I had my first job when I was 9 years old. Actually, I had two jobs. And so I knew what it was like to get a paycheck, pay taxes, pay Social Security. Very early on, I had maybe some of the parents in this room are old enough to remember Christmas Club savings accounts. You used to have these little books. You go to the bank and they'd stamp it and you put in. Through adversity, I actually became financially literate earlier. But I think that no matter what you want to do, that whether you want to be a teacher, an administrator, a doctor, join the armed services, be a writer, that the financial literacy lets you stay in control of your life. And it can be everything. Many schools, and they've dropped it now, but there used to be a course called Home Economics. And everybody said, well, it's like, no, it's how do you run your house? How do you have a budget? How do you stay on budget? There's the sexy part, the stock market, crypto, prediction markets, and all that. But then there's the nuts and bolts and the bread and butter. Like how do you know how much debt to have? What apartment can you afford? What car payment can you afford? How do you put it all together? How do you make it all work? What's the right amount for a rainy day fund? What is all this seems nebulous now, but I can guarantee you, your parents think about it every day, every night, because they want the best for you. And if you're here, they have managed something well. And if you want to have a degree of freedom, then financial literacy is really the way to do it. That you don't want to be taken by scams. You want to be able to come back and donate money to your school, donate money to your church, donate money to your favorite charity, then you have to think about how do you want to do that. So it's really, I think, a life skill that has gotten away from a lot of people. And I've been a big proponent of that. As I said at the Economic Club this morning, in the mornings in Charleston, South Carolina, I'm at the local convenience store. Don't tell Secretary Kennedy, having a Dr. Pepper for breakfast. I did, my New Year's resolution was I switched to Dr. Pepper Zero. But there'd be a lot of workers in there, mainly construction workers. I'm dressed like this, and they say, "Mister, can you, I'm playing the lottery. If I win the lottery, will you manage my money for me?" And I said, well, the best thing you could do is take that $20 and put it in the stock market, because that would mean you're putting in $50, $80, $100 a month, $1,200 a year, then it compounds, and that money could really, but people don't understand that, and a lot of the system is geared against you. Like, studies have shown that the poorest per capita states have the most people who play the lottery because people think that's their only way out. And like, if you have what I would call very good financial hygiene, good habits, and look, things aren't always going to go your way. Stock market doesn't always go up. That at some point in your life, you may or may not lose your job. You may not be able to get a job. That I work every day to make sure that we will not have another upset like the financial crisis 2008, which I think maybe you all were just born then. But the main thing is to have financial resiliency, because I think that's a lot of the process, and also to feel like you're in control in terms of your life, your education, and all of that. So this year we implemented something called a Trump account. So every child who's born over a 5-year period is going to get $1,000 put into an account, and you can take it out when you're 18, or you can leave it in until you're 65. And I think it's just going to make a gigantic difference in the U.S. I don't know how many people here, who's interested in the stock market?
Raise your hands.
Right? Who's interested in crypto? Okay. And but there's nothing like doing, as opposed to it's just something you read about.
I'm going to ask a couple more questions, and then we're going to have Mr. Hester call on a couple of students to ask some questions over here at the microphone. One of the things you talked about was all the other people that came before you as Secretary of the Treasury, but talk a little bit about, you shared it in the small group, talk a little bit about how you got to where you are now.
Sure. So a lot of people ask me, did you always want to be Secretary of the Treasury? And I say, no. You don't really wake up and wait. I don't think any of you wake up in the morning and just, if I could only be Secretary of the Treasury. Maybe there are a couple of people who want to grow up and be president. Maybe.
Maybe now they do, though. Maybe now they want to be Secretary of the Treasury.
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was interested in numbers. I was interested in finance, like my background and what had happened with our family. Like, our family had been affluent for 250 years. And then my dad kind of ended that, so I was just very interested in finance. I was interested in public finance. I think it's important. We just, we're here. It's the 250th anniversary of our country. And I think that I am honored and privileged to be able to try to set the sails for the next 250 years, to make sure that all of you have a better life than your parents, that your children, and keep this idea of the United States of America going. I was just reading, everyone here heard of Singapore? So, small island country. I believe it was started in 1963, and the founder of Singapore was called Lee Kuan Yew, and his belief was, we have no natural resources, all we have are our people, and our people have to be the best. And it's incredible. They have the highest per capita GDP in the world now, and it is all just from working, studying, education, saving, and it is just this little island fortress. And I think about the United States of America, and we are the opposite of Singapore in terms of natural resources. Like the U.S., when you think about the U.S., like we are blessed because we have these oceans in between us and our adversaries, mostly. We have incredible natural resources, and it's a challenge that because it's almost like someone who is an athlete who could be on the first string without working hard, but with a little more work, you can be all state, all American. And that's the way I think about the U.S. is like our job is to make sure that the U.S. performs at the highest level and keeps performing that way. Because really, when you look, and I read a lot about the ethos of the U.S., the ethos of the U.S. is we're number one. And I can't imagine what would happen to our national psyche if we weren't number one. And I often wonder, now part of my job is going out and meeting with government leaders, and there's some beautiful countries, nice people, but Australia. But what would it be like representing Australia? 30 million people, beautiful country, but smallish economy, but we get to represent the United States of America, and the rest of the world depends on us.
I think that's worth an applause right there. So I have one more question here, and then so students, whoever you are that are going to be asking questions, get ready. Get your track shoes on so you can get up to the microphone. This is one that I think is for the parents. How are you thinking about the U.S. economy and any predictions for what the year will look like? Go.
Sure. I think 2026 is going to be a great year for the economy. That we spent 2025, I always say the president's economic policies is a three-legged stool. So it's trade, taxes, and deregulation. Trade, we have done a lot of trade deals which have been very good for American companies, American workers, and our trade had gotten very out of balance. That free trade did not mean fair trade, and you have countries like China that have very different government models, very different capital models. They're willing to subsidize. They want a steel industry. They want a semiconductor industry. They want all these industries, and they're willing to subsidize unfair competition. What we learned during COVID was that there are a lot of industries that we need to have in the United States. So trade policy is set. Tax policy, we have made the 2017 tax cuts permanent, and we have put in two sets of policies, one for companies. And companies, so if you buy a company, you build your factories here, you can immediately deduct on your taxes the equipment and plants. So we're using trade to bring the factories home. We're using taxes to tax planning to make it economical to do it, create new jobs. And then the third part is deregulation. There was way too much regulation, and I think that it was constraining industry and borrowing. Small banks, I always talk about Main Street and Wall Street. Wall Street always seems to do well. Main Street does not. One of the reasons Main Street hasn't is that since the great financial crisis of 2008, 2009, we have lost half of our small banks. And small banks are the engines that drive the ag economy, small business lending, and real estate. So we brought down the regulations, and we are helping small banks to do more lending so they can lend to Main Street. And I think that we are going to see the economy accelerate into 2026. And I think the important thing is going to be, because we've deregulated, we're creating more supply, and it will be non-inflationary growth. So no use in making more money if inflation eats it up.
Right. Wonderful. Mr. Hester, do you have your first student teed up?
I do. So whoever's first on the list is going to come up.
So just make sure you tell us your name.
Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary. My name is Connor Neeson. I'm a senior here. My question for you is, what financial lesson do you wish you had learned in high school?
Well, I think that the idea of compounding, that I wish that I had spent more time just thinking about, okay, so I saved money and bought a car. Right? Probably would have been better to have bought a share of Microsoft, because the share of Microsoft would now be so. But the car was useful, probably a little more fun than a share of Microsoft. but the idea, I think the real idea of compounding, that everything, when you consume something, it's a choice, and you don't want to live a Spartan life, but you do want to be prudent. But everything's a choice. Do you need the third TV for your house, or is it better to put the $350 away for a college fund? Is it better? So I think it was really that.
Wonderful question.
Okay, next.
Hi, Secretary Bessent. My name is Bella Parrish, and my question is, with the rise of digital payments, fintech apps, and online investing, what new risks and opportunities should financial education address for teens?
That's a great question, because all of you are digital natives. Here, I'll ask a question I know the answer to. Anyone not have a phone? Right. So if you could imagine, people didn't used to have phones, and I was watching, over the break, I was watching a movie from the 1950s with my children, and my daughter turned to me and said, "God, everyone used to smoke." Yeah. And it just seems so foreign. And I had a feeling that in 30, 40 years, we're going to look back, and now you see everyone has a phone in the movies, and no one will have a phone. You know, it'll be a chip, it'll be something. But that in terms of financial literacy, fintech is very important, because this is moving so fast. Well, like I said, that you used to have this idea of paper checks. Paper checks are on the way out. We're trying to get rid of them at the federal government. And on one side, it's much more efficient. On the other side, being smart on cyber, that if you were to ask, maybe somebody's going to ask a question, what do you think one of the biggest risks are? Like cyber, that a bad actor could come in and shut down the financial system, that you could be scammed online in terms of, and the more AI there is, the more of that, the more you've just got to be ready for it. So, but it's also a lot of opportunity, that payments are going to move faster. Used to be, I got my paycheck and it took 5 days before it got credited to my account. Now, direct deposit, your money is working for you right away. There's a company now that is doing a program for workers who get paid every 2 weeks. They will actually put the money in your account every day. So there's a lot of innovation, and I can tell you, and this is not because we're American, no one innovates like Americans. That I travel the world, and in Europe, they're stuck in the past. China, they innovate, but they have the binding constraint of the Chinese Communist Party. They will only let them innovate in certain directions. And in the U.S., it's if you have a good idea, then there is no place to be able to monetize or make that work like the U.S. But these fintechs are exciting, and at Treasury, we are trying to incorporate them into the into the regulatory regime to make sure that it is safe and sound for everyone.
All right.
Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary. My name is Alexa Sauer. I'm a senior here at Providence Academy. And one of my questions for you is, how can schools better prepare students to manage their finances, including investing, taxes, budgeting, and saving?
Well, I think a lot of it's simulation. So when I taught at Yale, the first couple of years, everyone wanted to get in my class because I used to hire my 1, 2, 3 best students. So it was, I'll do that. But I was teaching economic history, but one of the things that we did on the side was we kept a model portfolio. So I actually think maybe some of you own stocks, maybe some don't, but this idea, like, start keeping a model portfolio. How does it move? Why does it move? I think pick one or two financial things that you like reading, and just read those on the weekend, but become engaged, and also game it out. That, okay, the U.S. invaded the, or removed Maduro.
Yeah.
And does the, does that make oil go up or down? Right? Venezuelan bonds went up. Did U.S. government bonds go up or down? So after that, or we've got this AI boom. Who's that good for? Who's that bad for? A couple of years ago, it looked like Google's way behind. Now it looks like Google's caught up. So how did that happen? What? Just like to think about, to have an interest in what makes stocks go up and down. Think about financial planning. Maybe even in terms of the question, I think schools could have certified financial planners come in and just tell students, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, because it sounds like there's a big group of seniors in here. So at College of Charleston, we support a program for college students, and a lot from students who are on financial aid, students from underserved communities, and I tell you, it is poison that you show up on the college campus and there's American Express or there's Visa, and they're going to give you a credit card. And you've never had a credit card before. You've never been away from home before. And all of a sudden, you're maxed out on the credit card, and you're going to have to drop out of college, or your folks aren't able to, you don't have folks with the resources to help you. So a lot of that, a huge amount of financial literacy is what not to do. What not to do. And I can tell you, like, running up a lot of debt is the thing you can't do.
Yeah, excellent.
Hi, Mr. Secretary. My name is Cecilia Karen, and I'm a senior here at Providence. And my question for you is, what advice would you give high school students and their families on evaluating the true cost of college and alternative career paths and student loans?
Well, I think one of the things we did in the U.S. was, for a long period, we just made, like, it was college or bust. And I think that's wrong. That I have Kate Metting, my college roommate at Yale, his son doesn't want to go to college. He's going to become an airline pilot. He'll be making $300,000 in 10 years. And that we had the CEO of United Airlines in Treasury a couple months ago. They have over 100 pilots who make more than $1 million a year. So, like, why are you going to college? What do you want to accomplish? Is it that you want to be a more rounded learner? That you want to study liberal arts? Are you going for a trade? Is the trade the right thing? Because I can tell you, like, South Carolina, they're always near the bottom of rankings in education levels. But one thing South Carolina is great at is technical schools. And so Boeing, when they were considering nationally where to move their second assembly line, they have a giant assembly line up in Washington State. And they came to South Carolina because South Carolina had trade schools, and every employee who showed up at Boeing on day one already knew how to do their job because of the trade school. So, look, I think you should be smart about what you want to do. You should also think, when you're choosing schools, state school versus private school, is it worth it? In terms of student loans, is it better to come out without student loans? Is it better to push because you want to go to a private school? Is it better to live at home first? Is it better? It's a complex calculus, but I do think that you do have to have this economic model in the back of your head about, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it?
Yeah, excellent. We have time for one more question.
Good afternoon. My name is Claire Peters, and I'm a senior here at Providence Academy. My question for you is, if you had to choose 3 financial skills every high school graduate should have, what would they be and why? So,
the understanding debt and when to use it, so understanding financial products. Anybody here know what buy now, pay later is? Oh, yeah, okay.
Again, credit cards.
Yeah. Well, no, there's credit card, but then there's buy now, pay later, which is different than a credit card. You got to pay the whole thing off in 4 payments. So, the main thing would be, like, evaluating sources of debt. That you can, if you buy a home, if it's your primary residence, you can deduct the interest. So not only when you're thinking about, okay, how much house can I afford, then there's a tax aspect to that too. So it would be being smart on debt, it would be being smart on taxes, and then the third part would be to think about your personal asset allocation. So every young person in this room should be 100% invested in equities. That if you have time, if 16, 17, 18, that over the course of your life, if you are not going to need the money until you are 65, you should be in the stock market. It is the single greatest wealth creator. Now, if you're 63, and that hopefully I won't get retired unintentionally sooner, but in 2029, I will be out of a job, then I have a different risk calculus. I'm going to need my money, but it's really to be smart about it. Friend of mine was a trustee, University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School of Finance, most famous school of finance in America, and he was very interested in behavioral economics. And so he went to the head of the personnel department. The average professor who gets tenure at University of Pennsylvania gets it when he or she is 38 to 40 years old. Do you know how they decide? So they sign up for their 401k program. Do you know how they decide how much to put in stocks, how much to put in bonds? They ask the administrative person behind the counter, what does everybody else do? These are the most sophisticated finance people in the world. So they're busy making money, but they're not thinking about how can they make money for them. So anyway, it would be the managing debt, taxes, and then thinking about what's the best risk-adjusted return for you. I used to tell people that you could have 3% of a family. You could put of your savings, you put 2 or 3% in crypto, but could go to zero. But you should have something because it's very interested, it's innovative, and you can take risk like that. But I think it's very important to risk adjust your life.
Wonderful. What are your closing comments for the students and their parents?
Well, thank you for all being engaged. Everyone is welcome to come visit at Treasury. If you want to do a school trip, we'd love to have you. I am on the Keep DC or Make DC Safe and Beautiful committee, and DC is safer than it's been. It's becoming more beautiful, and to be able to engage with the government, and it's just not something you see on the news, that is fantastic. And to be able to go behind the scenes, to have Senator Klobuchar and I have a robust back and forth, but but she is a dedicated. We don't always agree. We don't agree that much, but she is a dedicated public service who wants to do the best for the people of Minnesota. Servant, and she wants to do the best for the people of Minnesota, and I know she would love to see all of you. Yeah. And I was reading her biography. I think she went to Wayzata High School, and
yes.
But come see your government and be part of your government.
And internships, you mentioned internships.
And at Treasury, we have internships. Any of you who are interested, we'd love to have you apply during college. We have summer internships. You can take a semester off and work at Treasury in spring or fall. And again, this is, a lot of that is just knowledge. Like Washington can be an insider's game. So I think the great thing about seeing all of you here today, you all know there's an internship. I didn't know there was an internship. Right? A lot of people don't. But come out, participate. It's fascinating. I'm 63. I went to see I mentioned at lunch today, I went to see the Supreme Court in session. So they had a hearing, and it was unbelievable. First time I'd ever been in to watch a case being heard by the Supreme Court. And it is the closest thing from 1789 when our government started. I don't think the White House certainly doesn't resemble the White House. The House and the Senate, the way they debate, doesn't look like itself anymore, but the Supreme Court still does. So, and it's just amazing to see the way, and they have very different political views, very different backgrounds, but they kind of make fun of each other. It's very old-fashioned, and it's fun to see. So anyway, participate, come to DC, and that's really it.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much.
All right, there you have it. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, he's giving financial advice and literacy to high school kids in Plymouth, Minnesota, the Providence Academy there. A lot of good advice there if you were listening. Now, we're going to jump back into the news here on America's Voice Live. Protests continue to rage in Minneapolis. This comes after yesterday's shooting involving an ICE agent and a woman who weaponized her car against law enforcement. That, according to everyone in the administration. And when I watched the video, I felt the same way. I said it before and I'll say it again. If an officer tells you to get out of your car and you decide, well, I'm not going to do that. I roll up the window, I protest, or worse, punch the gas with another officer in front of the vehicle, what exactly do you think is going to happen? These agents have been trained to protect themselves and their fellow law enforcement officers and civilians in the field, especially with violent protesters surrounding them. Much of this could be attributed, that is, to the Democrats and the mainstream media's continuous rhetoric toward ICE. Vice President Vance called out the mainstream media for the way they have been reporting the story. Listen.
This was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job.
So spot on. Join me to discuss this further. A retired police lieutenant, founder of Wounded Blue, Randy Sutton. Randy, thank you for being here today.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
You know, it's remarkable to me for people to watch one angle of the video. There's several different angles now. It's clear from at least one of those videos. And when you slow it down here, you can see the officer in front of the car. And when you see the car after the woman is killed and she runs into the telephone pole, there's a bullet hole cleanly through the windshield, meaning the officer was in harm's way. The car hit the officer as she was going by. And look, she was trying to flee the scene. You see her tires squeal. She spins her wheels as she tries to get out of there. Simple advice. If a police officer in a tough situation gives you a direct order, says this is what you need to do, you need to comply, Randy. If she had complied with those orders, she would be alive today, right or wrong.
Well, isn't that the common denominator of every single one of these situations that we've seen? It is always noncompliance that is at the root of these issues. Let's look at the actions of this suspect, and she is a suspect. She's a suspect in an attempted murder of a police officer. Let's call it what it is. This individual created that environment that created her own demise. When you try and end the life of a law enforcement officer, this is going to take place. You know, every police officer, every law enforcement officer has a duty and a right to protect themselves from death or serious bodily injury. And it's that officer's perspective that that holds the key here to a legitimate shooting. Now, I have watched as the mayor of that dismal city, Mayor Fry, and Governor Walz have called this officer a murderer. It is absolutely reckless. It is disgusting. It is wrong, and they are either woefully ignorant of the law, or they are purposefully lying to the public and using this as a political cudgel, if you will, to once again. Well,
it's not going to work. That's not going to work for them. Look, the Supreme Court, as you know, Randy, has weighed in on this. If a police officer is threatened with a motor vehicle, and because there's people on social media and elsewhere saying, well, the police officer stepped in front of the car. It was his fault. It was not his fault. You see the woman first, she throws it in reverse. Then she throws it in drive. She had no intention of complying with any of those lawful orders. Her intent was to at least flee the scene. And in so doing, she runs into the officer. It's clear he gets hit by the car in a glancing blow. And the Supreme Court has already weighed in on this, as have a number of state and other federal courts. He was well within his legal bounds to use lethal force, period. And for those to suggest otherwise is reckless and dangerous, as you pointed out.
Well, not only that, but what we're seeing here is we're seeing a media that has been trying to create, once again, more division between the people and their law enforcement. These officers who are in effect doing exactly what the law is telling them to do. They are functionaries of the United States government. They are enforcing the laws that have been given to them. They are not doing this out of some type of maliciousness or malignancy. They are enforcing the laws that they have sworn to uphold. And let's look at what the reality is. There was no presence by the Minneapolis Police Department, and because of that, because the Minneapolis police chief has abdicated his responsibility to get involved in these affairs and have Minneapolis police on the scene in order to protect these ICE officers and coordinate with them, we are seeing more and more danger to the law enforcement officers who are in effect putting themselves in harm's way.
Yeah, and what's worse in my estimation, Randy, is that these comments from the governor and the mayor have put a target on the backs of these people, not just in Minnesota and Minneapolis, but across the country. It's open season as far as they're concerned on these law enforcement officers, and that is a sad day. Sir, thank you for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
A new year means a New Year's resolution. If you're looking to lose weight, get in better shape, and have more energy, then Drop is for you. Drop. It's not a gimmick, a crash diet, or a quick fix. It's a daily prescription-free, flavorless liquid peptide that supports weight management by targeting GLP-1, GIP, and other metabolic pathways. It works with your body, not against it. The core ingredient is a breakthrough peptide studied for its ability to regulate appetite, improve metabolism, and help the body use energy more effectively. Combined with MCT oil and mineral-rich Irish sea moss, Drop becomes a powerful tool to curb cravings while gently raising your energy. Nice. Drop is an investment in your health. The promo code VOICE100 will save you $100 today on Drop. $100. Go to twc.health/voice and make 2026 your best year ever. Again, that's twc.health/voice to start your health reset with Drop from the Wellness Company. Use code VOICE100. Save $100 on Drop. Do that now. Coming up after the break, I'm going to bring on David Zier from Minneapolis, discuss what we just saw with the Treasury Secretary. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Dr. Phil here, and I've got news for you. Millions of Americans are behind on taxes, and many settle for far less than they owe. If you owe more than $10,000 or have unfiled returns, Protection Tax can help. Their tax experts and licensed professionals deal with the IRS so you don't have to. Call Protection Tax for a free confidential consultation. Take the first step and take your life back.
Stay tuned to get a free month of home warranty protection. Tired of searching for contractors when your home appliances and systems break down, only to leave you stuck with a huge repair bill and shoddy repairs? Plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and appliance breakdowns could cost thousands.
Hi, Tanya Nyack here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. No matter if it's your refrigerator, air conditioning, or more than 20 other home systems and appliances, Choice Home Warranty has saved millions of homeowners a whole lot of money. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way.
It eliminates anxiety, frustration, and it saves you money. I recommend using Choice Home Warranty.
Don't let an appliance or home system break the bank, leaving you stressed. Call Choice Home Warranty before that happens and get your first month free. Plus, call in the next 5 minutes and we'll give you free limited roof leak coverage. That's a $70 value, free. Just call now.
No more headaches searching for technicians. No more huge repair bills. Just the peace of mind of having Choice Home Warranty at your service. I trust Choice Home Warranty with my home, and you should too.
Year after year, Choice Home Warranty is recognized as the nation's top home warranty and has thousands of 5-star reviews from real homeowners. Experience real budget protection and call Choice Home Warranty now.
Stop flushing money down the toilet on expensive repairs. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free. Don't wait another minute. Call now.
Call Choice Home Warranty for your free personalized quote and to get your first month free. Call in the next 5 minutes, and as our special offer, you'll receive free limited roof coverage. That's over $100 in savings. This offer won't last long. Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-495-1163. 800-495-1163.
And welcome back to America's Voice Live. As you saw, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just wrapped up speaking to kids, high school kids at Providence Academy, where he discussed the importance of financial responsibility. Really, it's financial literacy, something that we're woefully inadequate at providing in this country. Kids don't know anything about money. Heck, a lot of people don't know anything about money. They don't even understand it. They just run up their credit cards and end up in trouble. And they're like, how did that happen? Well, it happened. Joining me from Plymouth, Minnesota is Real America's Voice correspondent and the host of Breaking Point. Well, hold on one second. We're working it out with David right now. But what I liked from Bessent was that they were able to focus on something in Minnesota besides everything else that's going on there. I'll tell you, who does know about money? Those are the fraudsters. They know a lot about them. They've frauded it out of $8 billion or more. Fake daycares, fake places dealing in child meals and so forth. Defrauding the American taxpayer time and time again. In fact, did you see the one building? They were claiming to put out 4,000 to 6,000 meals a day. But in fact, no more than 40 people ever visit the building. They know because the feds set up cameras all the way around that building. And that means they're being defrauded of every single meal. $12.5 million the bill on that one. And it goes on. And then, of course, we've got protests going on in Minneapolis now following the death of that 37-year-old, as we were told earlier, suspect in an attempted murder of a federal police officer. Look, here's the thing. You can look at the tape however you want. You can say the car hit her. You can deny your eyes and say it didn't hit her. Fact of the matter is, she hit the police officer because you watch the car. First, she defies the legal order of the gentleman getting out of the truck here. He comes up, two of them, get out of the vehicle, grabs the doorknob. She puts it in reverse first. Oh, she has no intention of stopping. And then she rams forward, hitting a police officer. She had no intention of complying. Very simple outcome here would have been stop your vehicle, put it in park, and wait for further instructions. If that had happened, that victim or suspect, whichever you prefer, would be alive today. Her 3 children would still have their mother. But instead, the rhetoric has been ratcheted up to such a point that there's just anger, seething anger. You see, Kristi Noem said during a presser earlier today that this woman had had contact with law enforcement several times earlier in the day. This was not the first time they had run into her. They had seen her several times. She was leading this caravan of protesters that were swarming law enforcement as they were trying to do their job. And as you see when the video starts, her car is crossways in the road. She was not there to help them. She was not there to do anything but interfere with them. And when given a lawful order to step out of her vehicle, to stop the car, instead she backed up, dropped it in drive, and raced forward, her wheels spinning. What do you think is going to happen? Exactly. If you don't follow the orders of a police officer in a tense situation, bad things happen. Bad things happen. And as we discussed earlier, the Supreme Court has already ruled on this numerous times, as have other courts. A police officer has every right to defend themselves in that moment, not Monday morning quarterbacking. In that moment, they have the right to defend themselves, which they did. Of course, those on the left are going to call it murder and everything else. And apparently, Governor Walz thinks it's April 1861. He's going to threaten to bring up the Minnesota National Guard to what? To go toe-to-toe with the federal government? Yeah, good luck with that. All right, we're going to take a break here on America's Voice Live, see if we can get David Zier dialed in. We'll take a real quick break and be back after this.
Hi, I'm Caleb, and this is my story. I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta or brittle bone disease. I have broken my bones almost 200 times, and I have had 11 surgeries. But I didn't let that stop me. I love to bike ride, climb, race, and I'm learning how to stand and walk. Well, I can only do all of this because of generous people like you and Shriners Hospitals for Children.
And for the past 100 years, Shriners Children's has become family to millions of kids. But it's only possible because of people like you.
Shriners Hospitals for Children is only able to provide this world-class, life-changing medical care because of the generous gifts of people just like you.
Because of you, I can ride my bike. I can play basketball. Because of people like you, I can play the trombone. I can smile.
Will you send your love to the rescue today?
When you go online to loveshriners.org, you'll help make all of this possible for kids like me. Like me. Like me.
When you say yes to giving just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of all the kids you're helping every day.
Your gift, no matter how small, can help a child today.
This is your moment to make a difference.
When you pick up your phone, I know you have it right there, and call to give. You're helping kids like me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, please call again or give right away at loveshriners.org.
Your gift makes a difference. Thank you for giving.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Well, financial security is on a lot of people's minds as terms like inflation and GDP crowd the headlines. And while it's easy to get wound up in the narratives, it's important to keep a clear head. Joining me to discuss is precious metals specialist for the Birch Gold Group, Philip Patrick. And he told you a year ago, buy gold, buy silver. If you would listen to Philip Patrick, you'd have a lot bigger smile on your face today. Philip, we were just talking about it in the break. Silver is just breaking all records, gold setting all-time records. It is remarkable, isn't it?
Oh, it's remarkable. You know, I've been shouting from the rooftops to get in. If you'd asked me at the beginning of last year, would silver do 150%? I probably would have said no, not quite that much. So it was an incredible year last year. Gold up 65%, silver up, as I said, 150. But I think we have a lot of scope for movement. I think broadly, both of them have been undervalued for a long time. So I think largely this is a repricing to reality. Look at what's happening. Silver's use exploding, right? It's critical for defense, solar technology, electric cars, AI chips, all this investment in data centers, obviously supporting longer term price increases for silver. Gold being driven by all-time high demand, a sovereign debt crisis, and I think a global realization that government debt in general is not as secure as we perhaps thought it was. So we're expecting another big year for precious metals as the fundamentals strengthen, not weaken.
Yeah, I'm looking right now in real time. Gold is at 44.72, silver at 76.71. It was as high as 84, but you know, I don't know who to trust. I trust you, but I look at the predictions and they say, well, silver could be 115 in the next few months. I'm like, really? And gold could break 5,000. What do you see on the horizon? 25 ended great for metal. What about 26?
Honestly, I see hitting both of those targets. if I was a betting man, which I'm not, probably in the first 6 months of this year, but certainly by the end of this year, that would put them at a 50-to-1 ratio, which I think in this climate is about right. But I think we could see more movement than that, depending on a few things that are happening internationally. But all I can say is it's a very good climate for precious metals. I have personally been buying as much gold and silver, a little more silver at the moment than gold, as I possibly can in this climate. So I am practicing what I am preaching.
Now, you mentioned those world events. Obviously, Venezuela has dominated the headlines because of the arrest of Maduro and being returned to New York to face charges that have been in place for quite some time. What do those impacts do to the metal market? What happens when that oil coming out of Venezuela is stopped and the ships are corralled and sent back to the United States and elsewhere? What do these things mean?
Look, first of all, I think ultimately it was a good move. Russia and China have been making aggressive moves for a long time, and we've been falling behind. To get rid of a vicious dictator in our back door and secure more reserves ultimately for the US and Venezuelan people, I think long term is certainly a good thing. Shorter term, geopolitical events like this, they act as stress tests, and they force investors to ask, what else could go wrong? What assumptions am I relying on? And we start to see volatility. Prices on crude oil, shipping, insurance, and risk premiums start to rise. We don't see headlines about them because they're opaque and quite frankly, quite complex. But ultimately, this bleeds through into the broader economy and affects everybody. So I think we're going to see quite a bit of volatility this year, but I think all of these moves tie in with Trump's long-term plan, which is American interests first.
So here we are. One headline today, 5.4% is what they believe GDP is going to be for the fourth quarter. 5.4%. It hasn't been there since 2012. Inflation at 2.7%. What do those things mean for these markets?
Look, the numbers are good, definitely, but it's a little bit more complicated than the numbers suggest. If we based everything on the numbers, the economy is in incredible shape. Once you start to delve in, it does get a little bit more complicated. Investment in AI data centers made up an astonishing 92% GDP growth. So this huge investment towards the beginning of the year, trillions of dollars in data centers, have ultimately driven the bulk of the GDP growth. So essentially, it's a handful of tech companies spending huge amounts. That's not a sustainable long-term business model, and it doesn't reflect, I think, broader economic health. We've seen this many times before. We saw it in the late 90s with the tech boom, the mid-2000s housing boom. This seems predominantly AI-driven. I think a lot of the fundamentals, still, there's a lot of work to do. I think President Trump's doing a great job, but he's got some runway in front of him.
If you say, just one last quick thing on the math here, 50-to-1 ratio, then where should silver be if it was at a 50-to-1 ratio?
Listen, I see gold hitting 5,000. I see silver at 100 shorter term, but I think we blow through both of those next year. I really do. Jamie Dimon said a number of months ago, very offhand, but he said, look, in climates like this, I could see gold hitting $10,000 an ounce. Now, at a 50-to-1 ratio, that puts silver at 500. So I think we've got a lot of movement until we get there, but that's the trajectory we're heading on.
Well, there you have it. Given today's challenges, what should American investors and families be thinking about financially then?
Listen, I think everybody needs to look at precious metals. Investment banks now, Bank of America, are considering it as part of long-term allocation. So the mindset is changing broadly. I think a lot of your viewers have got on board early and they're seeing very good effects from that. But I think everyone needs to get the information, read up, understand why precious metals are so important for the climate in front of us. It's very simple to do. I can see it in front of me. It's America to 989898. Get the information and contact us. We'll be here to help.
There you go. Philip Patrick, a lot of good things to talk about heading into 26. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
And as he said, text the word America to the number 989898 right now. Get your free information kit on gold. Again, text the word America The number 989898. Can you imagine silver at 500? Wow. That would be something, wouldn't it? All right, after the break, we'll have a story that reminds us of how wonderful America is, plus answers to the America's Voice. Question of the day, what are your thoughts on ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis, and do you think the ICE agent acted in self-defense? We'll have those answers and more coming up on America's Voice Live.
Hey there. Hey. Hey there, how are you? I'm with Disabled American Veterans. I was wondering if you had a quick minute to thank America's veterans for their service and sacrifices.
Of course, why not?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Sure.
All right, hey, well, come on in here. I'm just gonna hit record on this.
I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I can't even think of the words to say of how grateful I am.
I just want to tell you guys how much you appreciate it.
But most importantly, I want to thank you for your courage and bravery. Wow. Just thank you.
Someone here who'd like to say something to you.
Oh my God, you guys are awesome.
Someone has something they want to say to you.
Goodness.
How's it going?
Oh. So I just want to let you know how much you appreciate it. How much you appreciate it.
I just feel honored for everything you've done.
Thank you for myself. Thank you for everybody.
I get to live every day, in peace because of you.
A lot of people thank us, but we want to take the time to thank you, honestly, for giving back. And when you give to DAV, you are supporting veterans like Dave, myself. So thank you so much for your.
Thank you. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can say thank you to our nation's heroes by calling the number on your screen right now and giving your monthly support of only $19.
Say thank you by going to helpdav.org right now and give just $19 a month. When you do, we'll send you this DAV t-shirt as a thank you and a reminder that you support those who serve.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right now. Your support says thank you to our nation's disabled American veterans.
President Trump delivered on his promises, but we can't get complacent. None of our America First agenda will be secure until we build the Red Wall. Turning Point PAC is building the Red Wall in Arizona, Nevada, and New Hampshire, key battleground states where conservatives outnumber Democrats. We're funding door knockers who will win the next elections in 2026, 2028, and beyond. Today, we're asking for your immediate support. Donate at tprav.com or scan the QR code now to fund our field operations.
What makes America wonderful? We do it every day with the hope of putting a smile on your face before you go on your way. Today's story comes to us right here from Real America's Voice. We strive to bring you the latest coverage from breaking news to President Trump and his cabinet, of course. Today, our very own Benny Ray Harmony is following Secretary of War Pete Hegseth during his Arsenal of Freedom tour. Let's check in with Benny now.
Hey, Steve. Yes, happy Thursday. We are here at Joint Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland, awaiting Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to arrive. We will be traveling with him today and tomorrow as he is on his Arsenal of Freedom tour. Now, what is this tour, you may be asking? Well, this tour is to show the strength of the American industrial defense base, to show to other foreign entities that we are strong and that we have what it takes to compete on a world level. Now, Secretary of War Hegseth, we went to the National Defense Forum with him in California, where he really hounded on the aspect of the warrior ethos and restoring American military back to the standards that it once was. So we will kick off our full day tomorrow on Friday starting with PT with the troops in the morning. Now, later on today, when we touch down in California, we will be doing a touch with troops. Now, what that means is Secretary of War, he will go in and he will talk to these recruits and he will talk to these members of our armed forces, as well as we're going to be going to MEPS, which is where the re-enlistment and enlistment happens for the armed forces. And so the secretary will be giving a speech later on this evening there, as well with going to the Divergent Technologies later this evening. Now, Divergent Technologies is a place that creates tech and creates AI and uses these technology systems to ensure that our war fighting, our jets and our tanks and things like that can operate effectively with the best technology, because we know that our adversaries, they have that technology, China, Russia, and we have to be able to compete on the world stage for that. Now, we do expect to get to ask Secretary Hegseth some questions over these next couple days. So we will be reporting here on the ground with the Department of War. We are in the traveling press pool these next couple days, so make sure you stay tuned. We'll be coming to you live from all over California. And I think it's absolutely incredible. This Arsenal of Freedom tour kicked off in Virginia, where the Secretary of War, he went down and saw some of the shipbuilding that is happening down in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. But this again goes to show peace through strength. That is what Secretary Hegseth says constantly. The United States has to have strength, and we do that through peace. So we'll be reporting live throughout these next couple days. We'll be back with more.
All right, Benny, thank you for those updates. Pete Hegseth, along with the rest of the President Trump cabinet and President Trump himself, continue to work to improve America, restore our place at the top of the global charts, all of them, all in the name of freedom. And today, that reminds us of what makes America wonderful. The question of the day, real quick, what are your thoughts on the ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis? Did he act in self-defense? Dennis Paul, when you keep poking the bear, feel the claws. Robert Schwenke has this. The bottom line is that she made a bad decision and paid the ultimate price. If she didn't go there, get into that situation, she would still be alive. It's nobody's fault but her own. If she would have just listened to the officer, she would be alive. Decisions have consequences. And one more, Alan Anderson. Tried to run over a cop and get shot. I feel for the cop. Yeah, he has to live with that. It's a fair point you make. Boy, it's been a blistering 2026, hasn't it already? Remember to start your day every day with me, because I kick it off live right here on Real America's Voice, 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday with the Steve Gruber Show, getting you right into the day with the best information, the best guests, and the best coverage right here on RAV. So don't forget to do that. Send me an email, too. Tell me about the hot stories in your neck of the woods. SteveGruber.com, the place to do that. Bowling on the way right here in Real America's Voice. We'll see you tomorrow.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
It's time to stand up and save with InstaSeal by Bell & Howell, the world's first vertical vacuum sealing system designed to save you money. InstaSeal removes the air completely, extending freshness up to 6 times longer. Now that's saving. Get the complete InstaSeal system. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-308-6802. That's 1-800-308-6802, or order online at buyinstaseal.com.
California wildfire ripping apart Los Angeles County.
This is ridiculous. This is death by 1,000 paper cuts by Democrat policies.
That is President Trump's motorcade.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Trump has returned triumphant.
they come out tonight.
We prayed together and we cried for 4 years.
Such an amazing feeling.
Flight 5342 colliding with a Black Hawk helicopter. 67 lives lost.
Liberation Day was extraordinary.
We never charged anybody anything, but now we're going to
Ring the bell, boys and girls on Wall Street. There they are, Wall Street. All right, folks. Thursday, we got a lot to get to. 4 o'clock, the markets are closed. Let's take a look at how things ended up. Dow Jones up 271 points, S&P kind of flat, NASDAQ down about 100 or so. Relatively quiet day there. There was one market that was kind of ripping today. Unfortunately, it was oil, and the prices were going higher, up $2.50 a barrel. That's tough. That's tough. We want to see it lower. I mean, it may have a lot to do with, what's going on with Venezuela. Venezuela has the largest. It's either the largest or second largest, depending on who you talk to. Saudi Arabian oil reserves, Venezuela oil reserves, number 1 and number 2. We're about 3 or 4. Russia gets in there as well. So there's a lot of oil under Venezuela, and they don't produce any. So the question, it was starting to go down because they thought Trump was going to bring the American oil companies over there, produce some of that oil, get it out of the ground, more supply, prices go down. That's why we saw prices retreating. Now there may be some issues with courts and whatnot, activist judges, and so $2.50 higher in the oil markets. Gold up a little bit, not a lot, quiet day in the gold market, and crypto down a touch, still holding over about 91,000, still holding over that all important, I would say 88,000 is a very, very big level for Bitcoin. All right. Let's go out to our congressional correspondent, Benny Harmony, who's traveling with the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, for his Arsenal of Freedom tour.
We are here about to take off from JBA to head to California with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Now, this is the Arsenal of Freedom tour. Secretary of War kicked this off about 3 weeks ago, and this is all about American manufacturing for the defense industrial base. Secretary of War is very specific when he says that he wants our defense to be the strongest that it is in the world. Now, we just saw that a few days ago with the strikes on Venezuela, as well as the capture of Nicolas Maduro. So we will be wheels down in California here in a few hours, where we will be visiting Divergent Technologies to talk about the AI and the technology that goes behind our war fighters and those great machines that they fly and drive and all of that. So we will be reporting more from California, but for now, we are awaiting Secretary of War Hegseth right here at JBA Tabor.
Well, thank you, Benny Harmony. All right, this morning I sat alongside, I attended an event alongside Senator Ron Johnson, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the USDA, by the way. Make America Healthy Again conference. It was kind of a celebration of what they've done, that this new food pyramid. Dietary guidelines were discussed. Always happy to have the senator from the great state of Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, with us. Senator, just going to get through a couple of these things. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday announced new dietary guidelines for Americans, which focus on whole foods, proteins, healthy fats, and so on and so forth. Senator, I really want to get into this stuff. I went from that event over to the briefing room, to the White House, to the briefing room, and to my surprise, J.D. Vance was there, and he was very lit up. I haven't seen him that poignant, that directed, that focused, maybe since the election. One of the things that they talked about, they talked about the ICE agent and the death, but he was really lit about this War Powers Act. Tell us what this is all about and why it really is a non-starter. I mean, J.D. Vance was really ticked off, especially at the media, for pushing a narrative that doesn't seem to be anywhere near what is really going on. Senator, take us through that, will you?
Well, first of all, let's just lay the groundwork, because I've done interviews and the reporters have asked me this unprecedented action. It's not unprecedented. Right. Democrat and Republican presidents have taken similar types of action. No two things are exactly the same. President Trump absolutely has the constitutional authority to do this. This is undeniably good, what happened. I mean, it was a spectacular success by the finest among us, the men and women of the military. General Kane gave us a briefing, and it was, the Senate, I think Republican and Democrats at the very end, we all applauded. It was such an excellent briefing because it was such an excellent operation. So again, this was a good thing. Now, nobody can predict exactly what's going to happen, but we know this president does not want a nation build. He wants to leave it up to the Venezuelans. He's going to use all the leverage he can with the oil. We'll buy the oil, take it out of their storage bins so they can continue to produce oil, but we'll sell it at world prices, set up basically an escrow account to pay off civil servants so that the government doesn't collapse, and then figure out how to stamp out the narco-terrorists, how to get rid of the Iranian and Russian and Chinese and Cuban influence in Venezuela, and transition to a government that is democratic, freedom, and more prosperity for Venezuelan people. That's the goal. We all ought to be cheering for that, not criticizing the president for doing what other presidents, both Democrat and Republican, have done in the past.
If we stay on just the oil part of it, why don't we want to get into the, who's going to run Venezuela going forward? But the Venezuelan people should be thrilled about this. Here's the way it works. Venezuela has either the first or second largest oil reserves on the planet. They produce probably maybe the 15th most amount of oil, which means there's a disconnect here, and that was Hugo Chavez, the prior dictator, who just ran the oil industry into the ground. He didn't update any of the industry, and it died. Their oil is now being sold on the black market for about $20, $25 a barrel. It's $60 a barrel in the open market, $25 a barrel because they're embargoed. You bring this oil back at market prices, it brings the whole price of oil down, and they get a higher price for their oil, and they can live again. It's not dictators stealing their money. What in the world are we here, judges, Democrats, politicians, trying to stop that? Why would we try and stop helping the Venezuelan people, and it won't cost them anymore, it'll only help them? I'm trying to figure this out.
It's all Trump derangement syndrome. It's just that sick, but that simple.